Hey guys, welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Andre Seegers, and we're again joined by Derek Binder to discuss all the latest news for Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS from this past week. So let's get right into it. Alright Derek, well this week just got a lot more interesting, but we will get to that, in due time. Now we already covered Monday's screenshot quite a bit in its own discussion. I think we talked about it for 20 minutes, where we see Luigi performing what appears to be his final smash, so make sure to check out that discussion that we already posted. You can find a link in the description below. So we're going to move on to Tuesday's screenshot, which is where things continue to get interesting. Now this one, at first, I had no idea what this was. And then Sakurai's comment doesn't help much either, where he says, this may look like a side-scrolling action game, but it's actually one of the stages. Now what that does mean is, a lot of people thought this was a custom stage at first, because of its kind of general, like, almost template-like appearance, like, where it's all like very angular, and then you've got this random spring there. But a lot of people noticed that if you look at the wall textures, like some of the symbols on the walls and a few other things, they match up perfectly to the symbols on the Palutena stage. And so what this likely means is this is part of the same stage, especially when you take into account that the statues in the background look just like they're from Chapter 20 of Kid Icarus Uprising, and it even has a spring-like element too in that level. So it really does look like we are looking at more of that stage, which finally gives us some idea of how this stage may work. So what's your take on this, Derek?
Well, I was like you. I had no idea what this could be from at first, because I was trying to think. The spring was what was throwing me off. The spike balls I could sort of see happening in certain stages, but the spring was just like, where is that from? And it looks attached to the ground, so I wasn't quite sure what was going on. But then I started people's ideas coming through about it being part of Kid Icarus Uprising, looking at their proof for it, and I'm pretty much convinced this is part of Palutena's stage, the Palutena's arena, or whatever it might be called in the end.
Right.
I did see a theory out there that said the spike ball could be Kirby in just a high-res form of one of his, down B attacks.
I think it makes sense, just because I watched a playthrough of the level as a reminder, but it's been a couple years since I've played it. I didn't see any like spike ball elements in the level. And Kirby, and one of Kirby's forms, historically has been a spiked ball. Granted, not quite as violent looking as this one is. this one looks like it's going to destroy them if it lands on them.
Yeah, and it does bear a strong resemblance to the ones found in Kid Icarus. So while Palutena's temple might not actually have spiked balls, there are levels that do have them, and they do look very similar to that. So my money's on that actually being a hazard.
It could be, and it does. I mean, it oddly does line up with that, with that hole in the ground there. Now the question is, how exactly is the stage, like, how's it laid out? One person or someone online drew an image, basically stacking what we've seen before Palutena's temple, right on top of this area. So they think it's vertically connected, and you would, I guess, drop right into this area. Now, to me though, I mean, while that's entirely possible, we can't even see the ceiling here, so maybe that is the case. I don't know if that makes complete sense to me, just because of how this area is designed. Like, it would be a weird design to me to have this room, like, I don't know, it almost seems too vertically focused, if that were the case. Because you'd only travel, as far as we can tell, through the opening in the ceiling. And who knows if that's the opening in the floor leads anywhere. Is that just a hole, or does it actually go somewhere else to another part of the level? I mean, I guess it would make more sense if this is a gigantic Hyrule Temple-like stage.
Yeah. Where
there's actually much more to the right than might seem at first glance. And it might actually, open up to the outside, which would allow another path to Palutena's temple, above. I could see that making sense.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, honestly, when I was thinking two possibilities. Either this is kind of like Castle Siege, where the scene just shifts on its own and becomes like, as you go deeper in, then work your way back out, and there's the lights and Palutena's statue and all of that.
Which could also make sense.
But I think the much more likely one is your suggestion about it being something more like Hyrule Temple, or the one that was stuck out in my mind was Newport City.
Right.
I don't think it'll quite be that big, because, let's face it, Newport City was just way too big. But I think it would work. We have not seen a stage fit that billing yet, because usually there is at least one just absolutely huge stage. So I think this would fit, and just the levels and the design, I think it just works.
Now here's an interesting thing. Now let's assume it is, one giant stage. I was just thinking about the spring here. So right now, if they did fall through this area, it looks like it's going to be very difficult to get back above through that hole, if it's even possible, because the ground, the bottom floor here is far too low to triple jump up into, for most of the characters, to triple jump back up there. You may be able to do it from the ledge on the left. So I'm wondering now, though, is the spring purely to get to the ledge on the left, or can you also use it to perhaps get back to the top level, assuming that's what's up there? Because it seems like a lot of characters should be able to pretty easily reach a ledge on the left without the aid of the spring.
When I was thinking about how it was laid out, the spring did sort of stand out to me as something you would use to get to the next level, not to that ledge. The ledge looks very easy to get to, as we've seen in other stuff like that in other levels, stages. So I'm pretty sure that spring is there just to get back up to the top.
Okay. Yeah, so I think the more we've talked about this, I think it does make sense for it to be a larger Hyrule Temple-like stage, especially because we haven't seen anything along those lines yet, as far as we know. Mm-hmm. All right, enough about that screenshot. Moving on to Wednesday's screenshot, we get a picture of Wind Waker, or Toon Link, I should say, using the Gust Bellows. And Sakurai elaborates that this is an item that can blow opponents away with its powerful wind gust, and when someone drops it, the gust will run wild. And then he even comments something that we commented before, which I think I took it out of discussion because it was running too long. But that there are a lot of new items from Zelda this time around, and he's not kidding. We've seen a bunch of stuff from Zelda in this game. So real quick, for me, my initial reaction was, "Oh my God, Toon Link's getting a new move! Awesome!" And then I read it's just an item, and I totally ignored the fact that it's not even a Toon Link item. Like, it's not a Wind Waker item. But I think it is cool seeing this item here, and it sounds like it has a unique purpose. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that struck me the most was just his description, because they said how many items was coming out of Legend of Zelda, which, I think I was the one that mentioned that the first time around. But yeah, it's interesting to me that they're pulling so many from here, and this is the second one from Skyward Sword. Mm-hmm. So apparently Sakurai's a fan, but the Gust Bellows, I like them making something unique out of it. It's not just like something like a wind version of Mario's Flood, where it just sort of blasts enemies away, not really causing any damage. So that's interesting, that it's something that a lot of different characters will be able to use and use to their advantage. The thing that really intrigues me most about this item, though, is the fact that if it gets dropped, the gusts run wild. So it can be a really either focused item or a really chaotic item. And I kind of like that.
I'm totally picturing it as like the ball, like basically just spinning around like haphazardly, just spraying wind everywhere. And yeah, I think that sounds really interesting. Like basically making the item part of the match without it even being held by someone, which isn't something too many items do. Yeah, I think that sounds really cool. Now, I have one question for you, because I initially thought this is a Wind Waker or Toon Link item, and we've discussed before, or at least I discussed with Tom, or no, it was with you, I think, how I wanted, I thought it would have been cool if the other Link in this game were based on the Skyward Sword appearance. So, taking all that into account, I'm a little bit disappointed that this isn't an item of a Skyward Sword Link. What do you think?
Yeah, it is a bit disappointing, but Link's been so established, and we already could tell from his design that it's much more based on his Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess appearance. So I'm not too surprised about that, although it would have been awesome to get more of a Skyward Sword sense from it. But let's be honest, the most popular Link is the Ocarina of Time Link.
But they could totally had like his opening entrance. I mean, sorry, you're right. But his opening entrance could have been like flying in on the loft wing and then like just dropping to the ground. Like it's almost worth it just for that.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool.
Especially if randomly every once in a while he just like plummets into the ground and opening his parachute.
Oh god.
Alright, moving on to Thursday's screenshot. We see this might be one of my more favorite screenshots of the week. Simply because it shows a change for an existing character. In this one, we see Pikachu using his Thundercloud, and apparently it has a new Meteor Smashing attribute. So I'm a little bit confused on how this works exactly, because the way he words it is a little bit confusing. where he says that Pikachu's Thundercloud now deals a Meteor Smash, which implies that maybe it's just a Thundercloud part, like if you're caught in the Thundercloud itself, it causes a Meteor Smash. But then later on, he comments that the Meteor Smashing with a Lightning Strike, or the Meteor Smashes happen with a Lightning Strike. So I think that actually maybe clarifies that, where it's the entire Lightning Strike that causes a Meteor Smash.
Yeah. No, the cloud effect is just sort of, it adds, like, I think it's much more of a visual element to show where it's going to strike. However, I still think it's going to be pretty quick, because I don't know how much of a time lapse we have here, but the distance between the throw and him hitting the, using Thunder doesn't seem to be that far apart, because Bowser doesn't seem to be getting much higher unless he's on his way back down. I'm not sure there, but it is interesting that it does cause the Meteor Smash of thing, so it'd be interesting to see people trying to set that up over pits to try to send people down that way.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Is this a buff or a nerf? Because you're right, this could be very potent, like over ledges, like where you just straight up murder an enemy as they're trying to get back. The thing is, this is a hard move to use for most people, like without being on the ground, because it freezes Pikachu temporarily, and it can lead to your very own death too. And it's just, really difficult to time. But, it will make it more effective, than it was before in that purpose. So in that context, it's stronger. But when you're on the ground, before you could use it to just, if someone got hit by it, they would just go flying off, especially if they were at a high percent. But now it's just going to plummet them into the ground. So now the thing that I don't understand, though, or if the thing I'm not sure about, is that going to be beneficial or not? Because it makes it less of an immediate danger, but it will potentially, as Sakurai sets up right here, it'll bring you right down to Pikachu, so it can just like lay right into you again potentially, which might make it even more dangerous than it was before.
Yeah, it's definitely changes up how people will be using the Thunder. It seems much more combo based now, rather than using it as sort of a finisher,
right, or
getting in there and just wrecking people, because they're not really going to go away as far as we know, as far as this this picture tells us, but it still seems to be quite devastating just looking at the attack itself.
Well, it totally does, and I actually wonder, you did mention it's basically it kind of works as a combo, as you mentioned, and I wonder if that might mean it will be less effective than before in like 3 and 4 player matches, but potentially more effective in one-on-one matches. Because one-on-one, the time, it's not going to matter if it takes longer to do the same amount of damage. Like if it's a 2-step move now to KO Bowser instead of 1, that doesn't matter because you don't have to worry about anyone else. But in the context of a 3 or 4 player match, that's going to take you more time, that leaves you more vulnerable, and that's going to be harder to work with. So I do wonder if it's new found this new ability, or if its strengths come into play more depending on how many people you're playing against.
Yeah, it's a good question, but it's hard to say right now. But I think overall this is a good balancing act. It changes up the move, makes it more apparent for people who are playing against Pikachu, but also powers it up even a little bit slightly. But yeah, it's just all kinds of tweaks and changes that overall I kind of like. I'm not a major Pikachu player. I mean, the only thing I really know about people who play Pikachu usually is they love to spam this attack.
Yeah, he was my main in Smash Bros. 64, and yeah, that down B move was really good. Although I tried not to spam it too much. But yes, I am really curious to see how this will change his dynamic. Alright, then moving on to the final screenshot of the week, we have a picture of everyone's favorite Isabelle from Animal Crossing New Leaf, who we haven't seen yet in the game itself, but we actually saw her way back in the E3 trailer, which we point out in our analysis. And Sakurai comments that he does like a little singing type thing where she's saying, "Hello fighters, I'll assist you with fresh picked fruit from my town." Now the fact that she's appearing in the foreground and the fact that it's an Animal Crossing stage that isn't based on New Leaf all suggests that she's an assist trophy, as opposed to a background character or a stage hazard. And my best guess is that she's going to maybe throw fruit around based on what Sakurai says. What do you think?
I think you're right on most accounts. I think when I hear "I'll assist you with fresh picked fruit from my town," I start thinking of in terms of like Peach's Final Smash, where all these peaches appeared and you could revive health. So she's a healing assist trophy, which I don't think we've ever had before.
Yeah.
That's kind of unique, the fact that she provides healing for everybody.
It's a little bit like Chansey, actually, I think.
Yeah, a little bit. Just all definitely meant for healing. Although, freshly picked fruit, it doesn't say apples, it doesn't say cherries, it doesn't say all the other fruit that you can find in Animal Crossing. So maybe different fruit will have different healing abilities. Or, if we go one step further, Isabelle is known for being a bit of a klutz, so maybe she'll accidentally throw out beehives as well.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it based on Sakurai's hint, but I'm just going based on the character and based on the whole fact that this could be good or this could be bad. I'm not sure. I always think there might be a bit of an offensive opportunity with most items, and I think a beehive would be probably the most common way of making that happen with Isabelle.
That'd be really cool, especially if, like, maybe when, if she drops a beehive, like, whoever interacts with it first, like, is the one that draws the bees. Perhaps along the lines of some of our ideas for the cuckoos, and how they may work. So yeah, there could be some interesting things here. It's really interesting how he shows off these assist trophies without really elaborating too much on how they work. It actually leaves a lot of questions up in the air. A lot of surprises left in the game. And I wonder too, though, if we don't know how the assist trophies are going to be spread among the two games, if some will be shared, or if they'll be exclusive. And if they're exclusive, it's a little bit odd that she's appearing in the Animal Crossing, in the Wii U version of the game, and not the 3DS version of the game, which has a new leaf-based stage.
I don't think the items are exclusive. I think the only thing that's exclusive to each game are the levels themselves. So I think both assist trophies will show up in both games. So I don't think we have to worry about that.
Could be. Alright, well that wraps up for all the images, but there is one final big piece of news coming out. Literally came out just as before we started recording this, and we were about to record and this news came out. That there's going to be a brand new Smash Brothers focused Nintendo Direct on April 8th at 3 p.m. Pacific time, which is totally unexpected. I did not see this coming. So I thought we'd just spend, just a couple quick minutes just discussing this. Yeah, this is weird, man. I did not see this coming because we're at it's this awkward time where we're close to E3 and yet far from E3 at the same time. Like, we're still 2 months out. Like, if this were just a week or two before E3, I could maybe see something, but they've done something like that before with the Wii U unveiling. But this is a good couple months out, and I suspect it has to be a pretty big announcement. What do you expect from this?
Well, we were trying to figure that out before we started recording, and
you're ruining the magic, Derek.
Sorry, we talk about before recordings anyway. Basically, we're both pretty sure our new character is going to get announced.
Right.
And we were looking around what potential new character could get announced, what's in this time frame. When nothing's really matching up except for Kid Icarus Uprising released around this time. So maybe Palutena will be unveiled. But I don't think it's just going to be a new character. It's not worth doing a Smash Brothers focused Nintendo Direct just for that.
Right.
Because we've had other characters revealed during just regular Directs. So it's going to be something a bit more involved. And considering we really haven't seen much of the game in motion, how it'll play, stuff like that, it very well may be more focused on that. Okay, this is how it plays. These are the differences. This is the single player mode. This is, all this stuff. I think we might actually be getting some real concrete information on that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I could almost see, the more I thought about this, I could see it being possible that maybe there won't be a brand new character. I mean, maybe, at the least a returning character, another, veteran coming back. But, there is so much potential there with just explaining more about this game. Because they've barely shown it off. Who knows what changes they've even made since they've shown it off. And, we've only gotten a little taste of some of the new mechanics, like the new grab, for instance. And there really is a lot they could discuss here. So while I do think there's a very good chance of there being a new character, especially at least a veteran, but I do think, there's enough here that they could just go off of and just explore more of the game and maybe save a bigger character announcement for E3.
Yeah, it could be. It's the other odd thing that you got to think about. And I've already seen a couple of people murmuring this stuff, and I don't think it's likely, but it's worth mentioning. It could be that maybe this game's farther along than we thought.
Right.
And that's why they're showing it now, and maybe it'll come out sometime around E3, or maybe sometime during the summer, where it has literally no other competition.
That would be insane. And there is precedent for this, not so much in the way they've gone about announcing this, but with the Wii. Mario Kart Wii came out early in the year. I forget the exact dates, but Mario Kart Wii came out early in the year. Then just like a month or two later, there was Smash Brothers. I think I had that order right. It could have been it might have been the reversed. I forget exactly. But they were really close in proximity to each other, and maybe Nintendo wants to replicate that effect here. I think it's unlikely. I don't think we'll see it before E3, or almost Actually, I take that back. We will definitely not see it before E3.
No.
Yeah, it's definitely not before E3. But it could come a month or two after. Which would be hot on the heels of Mario Kart 8.
Yeah.
And I guess it's possible. You consider after E3, we're already only 5 months away from the Christmas season at that point. It's not outside the realm of possibility that's closer than we think. Who knows? So
yeah, it'd be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. Like everybody else, we're hyped. We want to see what they're going to show, because that's the thing. We can never predict Sakurai.
Well, I wish we could, because I would love to see Palutena confirmed. That'd be a really cool thing. But I'm excited to see what they do show off. Just really anything, any new footage of this game will be great, and that's going to be a pretty big day.
Yeah.
Especially following all this Mario Kart 8 news. This has been a great time for Nintendo.
Yeah, definitely.
Alright, well that wraps up our Smash Brothers weekly discussion. Thanks guys for watching. If you liked our discussion, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. You can find links to them in the description below, and it's a good way to keep up to date with everything we post. And of course, keep an eye on GameXplain.com for more on Smash Brothers Wii U and 3DS and other things gaming as well. Alright, thanks guys. Bye.